Yo, yo, yo. Hey, Bryan, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. Good
Good.
to see you, my man.
It's so great to see you as well. Um, I love you, man. I just want to say that, first of all. I really
Mm,
appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know that you and I, we go way back, but at the same time, we're also just getting to know each other as well. And it's always great to hang out with a brother and knowing that we both choose to serve men and we have to continue to lift one another up. So this is our opportunity to share from our heart and share our experiences and maybe a few stories. And so I was just curious as if you had any questions for Phil or where you would maybe like to go with some of these topics or things that you've thought about.
totally, totally. And the feeling is mutual. And just before we hop in, I would love to um, just say almost a little prayer that our time be
Hmm.
connected and resourceful, and that what wants to come through us would be of value and service for those hearing or listening or watching, and that the truth that's been gifted to us can flow onwards and help many more men out there, souls on the path, brothers on the path, and
Beautiful.
we're all better off for it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for setting that intention.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I would love to hear is, what would you say is the greatest gift that you've ever received?
Wow. That's a that's a fantastic question. That's a big question. Um, so I'm not going to overthink this one just because there are many gifts. But if I think of like the biggest gift, and honestly, the biggest gift that sort of keeps on giving, I think, in the sense, is the day that I got a divorce, believe it or not. So that day and that opportunity. So I'll tell you a little bit about the story in a bit, but that day and that opportunity for me was the greatest day of my life. I felt a lightening of my heart. I felt a real sort of like, this is so amazing, Phil. You have a second chance. And really don't waste this second chance. Like really get clear on your life, right? So I saw that as a big gift, although it was a very sort of emotional time. A little bit of a backstory to that is that I was married for 2 years to a great woman. Like 80% of the time, things were great. But we went through some struggles in the sense that she was always trying to force me to communicate with her. And it got like looking back, I now realize that I was a project for her because I was broken, or she at least saw me as broken and she wanted to fix me. So, and really interesting that I fell in love with this woman who had like a religious background, which wasn't me necessarily. So the beauty was one day we were traveling down the road in our car. We are actually coming back from my parents' place, and the car was super silent. And all of a sudden, we looked at each other and we both said at the same time, "So I don't think this is going to work out." And I was like, "Whoa, are we both really saying this at the same time?" And indeed, we were. And so we didn't overthink it because clearly she knew that she couldn't fix me. I didn't want to be fixed. In fact, anything that she brought up made me completely defensive. And, I just didn't want to be there. Looking back, also, I remember my father saying to me that if a woman's good to you 80% of the time, you should probably marry her. which was again a self-limiting belief, unconscious, running in the background that I uncovered later. That was like, holy shit! Like, if life is going to be this way, and 80% of the time, if a woman is good to you, you should marry her. I don't think I want to get married again. That's what my initial thought was. So luckily, this was this amicable split, and also very, very lucky we did not have any children. So in the grand scheme of things, it was an easy sort of split. But really, the it was an awakening for me. It was really awakening of Phil. You have a second chance at life. Like, what do you really, really want for your life? Like, what are your hell no's and your fuck yeses, and really, where do you want to go with this, right? Where are your boundaries? What do you want from the rest of your life? And so that really sent me on a path of healing and transformation and self-discovery, um, that has now like spanned like 2 decades, which is, you know, quite a journey that I've been on. But I would say that was sort of the, as they would say, the turning point, where I just all of a sudden, I was 28 years old. I finally had a fully functioning brain, and I was like, this, my life has to change. And so I went on this path of healing. And it also at that particular moment was, I was already a massage therapist, and I kind of, I was delving in that world, but I knew that there was so much more than that as well. And actually, a friend of mine made a suggestion that I go see this healer. And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know if I like that word healer or whatever. And so he said, oh, she's really unconventional, like the way that she goes about things. Like, she's really incredible at blending the body and the mind and doing some healing and stuff, whatever. So that was the experience that I went for. And it actually now realized that it was my first introduction to coaching, which is really interesting. So I went to see this woman. I walked in her office. It was a beautiful sunny day. It smelled amazing. Immediately I felt relaxed and at home. And then this beautiful older woman came out, and she was just sparkly and golden, and she welcomed me with open arms. And I was like, wow, this feels like it's going to be a really special experience. So she sat down and listened to me for quite some time, just letting me really empty my cup, which I really truly appreciated. And after that experience, she made a prayer. She put some sort of thing around her neck, some sort of like, I don't know, like prayer robe of some sort. And then I laid on her table, and she put her hands on different parts of my body and started saying this prayer, which was all about me. And oh my God, it was like the first time that I ever truly felt healing happening. So I felt things starting to immediately shift in my body, and I felt this whole opening up to the possibilities of life. And that's what she really helped me do, was just like kind of crack myself wide open. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of like the gift, right? That was sort of the gift that kept on giving. And then it continued on to later on, meeting my beloved Jules, who now we've been together for almost 2 decades, and we have two incredible children. And because I was very clear with my boundaries and said that I would never settle, and that if that's the way it was going to be, I would be alone. I think because I got real clarity around that and did my own work and my own healing, this incredible woman came into my life. And she saw me for who I was. She never tried to change me. She kept lifting me up and supporting me, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. She was the whole thing, to the point that I started questioning it because it was so beautiful. But then I was like, Phil, again, don't overthink it. Don't question it. Just go with this. And how our love that came out of that whole gift and experience is, again, the gift that sort of keeps on giving in my world, where now we're able to share our messages, because she's in a very sort of similar world. She works with women. She's an intuitive embodiment coach, and she works with women on a very deep level too. So Um, yeah, so that's kind of the backstory of Phil and his transformation, and most importantly, I would say that is probably the biggest gift that I was ever given, that I really cherished and took my time unwrapping that gift and continue to unwrap that gift, and just gratitude for having a second chance at love, having a second chance at healing, having a second chance at being whole.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that story and the illustration and the multi-layeredness of it all. And it makes me wonder, because clearly you had an opportunity arise, right? And you seized it and it became who you are, and it flowed and has unfolded in a really beautiful way, right? A way that seems was very purposeful, was very almost like part of the plan, part of the grand plan. And I'm curious, you were able to make that transition. You're able to, start fresh, let go of the past, move forward, open up to new and to raise your standards and be successful at that and be successful at navigating all those changes.
Mm.
I'm curious, why do you think some men are able to do that, are able to be successful at change, making real change, while others struggle or stay stuck or fail when they attempt to do so?
Well, I'm sure there's a couple things, but the first thing that comes to mind is belief, and belief in myself, and maybe even a step further into the world of faith, like belief and faith that I could actually do it for myself. I think that's kind of like a big piece for me, is that I had to change a lot of my belief systems, and I think that's where the sort of the coaching and the healing came in, where I was like, it's clear that as a human, I can't see my own blind spots. And it's now my experience that this is why we're here together, is to support one another in uncovering those beliefs that are holding us back. And I think there's a lot of faith and stuff. I th- I see I'm now in men's circles, and I hang out with a lot of men who have failed, and I have a lot of conversations with them. And um most recently I had a conversation with a guy, and he told me a whole story about his failure to do many things. And I listened to him, and I went through the process with him, and he really had a lot of trouble with the way that society had programmed him. And it was really interesting because he had lots of like I am statements, I am this, I am that. And I see that now, that way that society has programmed us. And I said to him, I said, so you're telling me that you're the only anomaly in the universe that doesn't change, right? I said that to him. And because he was being honest, I was like, so he agreed that change is a constant thing that's happening in the universe. Yet he told me that he had this fixed identity of I am this, I am that, and whatever. And to be fair to him, that was how society programmed him, was that if he wanted something, he just dreamed that thing up of what he wanted. And I've asked this question a long time, like, again, why do some people fail and some people succeed at that? Because my experience is now that some people just dream it up and wish that this thing happened, and it stops there. And then my other experience is that half of those people that wish actually start taking action towards achieving that goal. And then half of those people who have taken action keep taking action, and some revert back to the old version of themselves where it was comfortable and easy. And so I think there's a bit of a piece missing there. There was always a bit of a piece missing. So society's kind of programmed us to work from the outside in, like, here's what I want to have. And so here's the hard work that I need to do to get that thing. And I think after that, it comes down to like faith in the person and their hard work. And some people are just stubborn as shit and they just keep plowing through things. And I think also there's a little bit of lady luck in there too, because there's a lot of randomness, it seems, in the universe as well. So again, I've asked that question a lot. And so I had a conversation with this guy because I've really been fascinated by change forever and why most people tend to fail. And again, I think it comes down to society's paradigm. So I was like, how do you create a new paradigm in which you succeed? And this is what I call the transformational paradigm. And my belief is that the transformational paradigm is an inside out approach. And so dreaming up the morals, the values, the beliefs, the truths, the understanding of who I need to become, who can do the hard work to get me what I want. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like a reverse engineering of it. So what does that person, what are their morals and values and beliefs and truths and rituals? What do they get up every day and do that allows them to succeed, right? Because again, easy would be like, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? So you do the hard work, you lose the 10 pounds, but then you slide back. Versus I'm a person that eats healthy. Oh, you're a person that eats healthy. Oh, okay. Well, what does a person that eat healthy do? Well, they eat whole foods. They're mindful of the state of their nervous system while they're eating. They're giving thanks for their food. They're being mindful of how they're eating it. They're chewing their food lots. They're putting their fork down between bites. They're not watching videos while they're doing it. Their nervous system's in a good place. And noticing that when you create a character like that, it's way easier to achieve success because it's about who you're being while you're doing the things that you're doing. And just that one little shift. So, again, the transformational paradigm is being, doing, having, versus society's paradigm is having, doing, and it stops there. So that one little extra piece, I believe, and this is just my own belief, and I've been able to successfully help other men navigate this through what I call a becoming journal, which is a journal that my men make up about who they need to become to do the hard work to get them where they want to go. They create pictures. It's an e-document that I help them create with images, with prompts, with things that they remind themselves morning, noon, and night. Some men have to do it morning, noon, and night. I say a minimum of morning and night when your brain is most programmable, that you're reading out loud and reminding yourself of the man that you're becoming, because it is hard work to do that. So you need constant reminders, because you and I know that this body is designed to conserve energy. So any chance it gets, it of course wants to go back to where it was because it's comfortable. That's why the comfort zone's a thing. So, but my belief is, again, if you really want to make change, you got to have a really strong why, right? You have to really, really dig. I dig at least 7 layers deep with men to get to their ultimate why. And I think it's sort of foundational when it comes to change. So that's kind of my particular belief around change and why some men fail and some men succeed at it. I think it really comes down to the support and direction and guidance that they get, um, versus again trying to do it on their own, which we've been taught to do, right? We've been taught to lone wolf it. That
Yeah,
that time is over, brother.
yeah, the epidemic of the lone wolf, do it yourself, get your shit together.
Right.
Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and stop complaining, whatever it is. Yeah. When you were saying the society's paradigm of, having, doing, in my mind, it's like having, doing, dead, right? It's like that, that's all there is.
There's a lot of
Having,
pain and
doing, having,
suffering in
doing,
there.
dead. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Um, why is it that you work with men? Why did you choose to serve men? How did you come to
Mm.
knowing that that was where you wanted to be?
Well, for me, the real turning point was after 23 years, I left the massage therapy profession because I couldn't help people in the way that I wanted to. I had to stick to that, that musculoskeletal thing, that professional lane that you were stuck in. And, and throughout that time, I belonged to a lot of different men's circles and really started getting into to men's work. And I was really intrigued with this whole idea again of not lone wolfing it, about all the incredible experiences that I had in circle with men. Just the community around it, the sharing, the safety of it, all of that stuff. And really, like, one of the things that inspires me is when men get together and do things together. And one story that I'm always reminded of the greatness of a group of men that gets together is when I was in Kitchener, I belonged to a men's circle. We used to get together every week. Our team was called All In, and we got together at different men's homes all the time. And there was this one man who he was a really stuck guy, right? He had lots of stuff going on in his world, and again, lots of self-limiting beliefs and stories that he was telling himself. And one day he came to Circle and he shared about receiving the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. And like, I don't think it was like stage 4 or something. Like, they pretty much told him to like pack his bags and get his life in order because this was it. And the men there, although were loving and caring, really deeply tuned into that man and asked him if this was it for him. Like, was he going to just give up, or was he going to step in? And what were the things that he felt that he could do that might shift a few things? And he decided that his job was very toxic. He decided that his lifestyle was also very toxic. And he very quickly took a lot of responsibility for his life. And he kind of also started asking questions and went on a journey of healing and discovery. And so that continued on for a little bit. And then we decided, once this man was like, I'm taking responsibility and I'm going to, people love to fight it. I question the particular, wording of it. But anyway, he was all in and he wanted to do something about this. So he quit his job. He started doing like medical marijuana, which this was a Mennonite man that was not even on the radar before that. So he really opened up his paradigm to the world of possibilities. And then what we decided to do as a group was to get together because this man didn't have a job. And so we got together and we had an event for this man. And we raised over $22,000 for this man in a very short period of time, just hustling, going out, we did raffles, we did this, we had a big giant event. And wanted to give this man space to heal. And we did that, and he continued to do his work. And then one day he went back to his doctor, and we prayed for this man a lot. Like, every time we were together, there was holding space for this man, there was setting intention for this man, there was loving this man, there was all of that stuff. And one day he came to Circle and he said, I went to my doctor today and they told me that they must have made a mistake. And we're like, well, what are you talking about? Well, they can't find the cancer anymore. So I don't know. It, for me, it seemed like a miracle. For him, he saw the cancer. Like the doctor showed it to him. And then when he went back, it was like a very, very, very small little tiny mass. And they thought, oh, we must have made a mistake. So I don't know if you want to call that a divine mistake, but whatever you want to call it was a beautiful experience about how men could get together and support one another. And that's one of the things that's really kept me involved in men's circles like that. I've been in health and healing forever, but that particular experience was like my first sort of group healing experience because I was kind of lone wolfing it too, because that's what I was taught through the massage therapy paradigm. And but that again, that coming through with that group of men really changed everything for me. So as I get out of massage therapy and started in the world of coaching, I really did some soul searching. And it was really tricky actually for me to go from being a therapist to being a coach because I kept jumping back into therapy mode because I was told that I could fix people and all those stories, which you and I know it's just a big giant placebo, right? But the reality was is that eventually I decided on coaching, and after getting into a few lanes that didn't quite resonate with me, getting into men's coaching and men's health because I knew I was perfectly positioned to serve the man I once was. And it was because of that that I felt sort of a deep bubbling up. I'm like, again, another chance for Phil, not another gift, another chance to do it differently and to get out of my own friggin' way, to do things way different and help men uncover what's holding them back and then support them and remind them that they're already whole, right? That they aren't broken like society told them. They don't need fixing. Oftentimes, as you know, it's reminders of the commitments that you've already made to yourself. That's why people come to a coach. They're like, oh yeah, there's that thing again, right? And so yeah, that's why it got me back into men's work. And then I was just like, well, if I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to coaching, it has to be in a lane that really fills up my cup and is a lane that I know that the world needs. Because my experience is now that we have lots of men who are growing in awareness and they have a deep desire to be more, and they have a deep desire to really put more out there, to contribute more. And I was like, yeah, man, this is the thing, because we're kind of in a really funny position as men in a modern world. So I grew up in the 80s. I've come full circle from like boys don't cry and, you know, be tough and all that other stuff, to mental health crises, to punishing myself physically to the point that I couldn't feel anything. All I could feel was like anger and frustration and shame and deep sadness. And then going, there has to be a better way. Luckily, I seem to have something inside of me that really propelled me forward to get out of my toxic environment, travel the world, discover other holistic ways of healing, and more importantly, doing my own work that kind of just set the stage for my own life and my own emotional, mental, and physical predicament. I mean, this is the world. Like the modern man is trying to navigate this emotional, mental, physical predicament that we're in. And it's really it's quite a thing. And so I'm just all about supporting those men who they're just waking up. They're just waking up to the possibilities of it. They are ready to take 100% responsibility for themselves. And so I love the one-on-one work, but I really love the group work that I'm doing, because that's where kind of where my heart is, where people get to share And my experience of sharing, whether it's this sort of avenue or in an actual physical, in the flesh sort of circle, you see a reflection of yourself in every one of those men. And that is the beauty of men's work and men's circles and men's health and healing, is that men are now waking up to the reality that, oh my God, I'm not alone. Meanwhile, I don't know about you, but I felt I was pretty alone for a long time. So now I've set my compass, and this is where I'm going, and it's really beautiful as I set my compass to do this. And as my wife is also doing very similar work in the realm of women, now people are coming together and saying, why don't you guys do something together? And we're like, yeah, we're working on that. That's something that we deeply desire too, because we can have the masculine hanging out here in a circle, and we can have the feminine over here hanging out in a circle. It's kind of great for the healing part of it, but for an integration piece about, how to show up in the world and how to be a better example, we have to come together and we have to model that to people, right? And that's what my wife and Jules and I, we've been modeling to our kids forever, and they just think that we're normal. So we have to have some funny conversations sometimes, because they come back with these realizations about, like, oh, we're not normal. Right? It's like, wow, right? So there again, my son, his emotional capacity at a 17-year-old level is light years beyond anything that I could have ever imagined for myself at that time. And so I feel like by me doing my work, it's changed everything forever. And it's really, really cool when you can see that sort of ripple effect where you break you break the generational ignorance gap, you know right? There's just a little bit more awareness, there's a little bit more awakening, and you can see that in the next generation. I think that is the most incredible thing, to become a father and to witness my work in myself, not trying to fix anybody else, but my work on myself, and how I can see that in my son, right? That for me is like, whew, it just bubbles up all the time. I'm just like, it was all the hard work is worth it, and it's just a reinforcing thing. And now I can share that with other men because I've seen it come full circle, and here we are now. And so I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share my experience with men. I am not the guru on the mountain. I may be a little bit further ahead than most, but we're here to lift one another up, and we're here to do so. I am here to do so in an informative, curious, and unconventional way, because that's my way.
The Phil way,
The Phil way,
the Phil can do.
the Phil can do way.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for all those beautiful questions. That's,
My
yeah,
pleasure. My pleasure. I wonder
beautiful to
if there's
share.
anything to, for the guy who might be watching this, who feels alone, who feels in pain, physically, emotionally, mentally. Um, what's like the first thing to do? Where would you suggest that they start, right? And if they want to engage with your unconventional way, your curious unconventional way,
Hmm.
what's the best way to do that too?
Well, I think the best way to start out is to join my Facebook community. So I have a Facebook community. It's a private Facebook group community for men who are growing in awareness. And it's a place where they can come and meet me, ask questions. I'm there doing a live every week, adding value, having conversations with people, and seeing how I can support them. Um, it's really interesting too that men for whatever reason have trouble sometimes, like, jumping into experiences like that. And so I wanted to create that, again, informative, curious and unconventional way where we just explore the modern day man's emotional, mental, and physical predicament. I'm not here to preach anything. I'm here to inform people about what's possible, give them both ends of the spectrum, and say, hey, man, where do you fit on here? Oh, you fit there. Amazing. Would you like to be, where would you like to be? Are you happy with that? Right? Or would you like to up your game a little bit in that area? Right? And then having that conversation, uncovering it, and seeing how you can support people. So I would say join my Facebook community. Uh, it's, you can find it clearly on Facebook.
What's the
And
title? What's the
it's
name?
called Men Growing in Awareness.
Okay.
Men Growing in Awareness. And lots of free tips and tools and strategies, and you can also reach out to me at phil@cranialwaves.com and shoot me a message. And I have some free resources and stuff that I send to people. It's all about nurturing relationships with people, right? Creating that safety, creating that container. Again, I'm happy if people are working with me, but I'm also just happy to provide them with some direction, because sometimes, not everybody's ready to take action, right? So that's why I like to have the chats with people to see where they are, see if they're really to the end of this, right? Because you and I know that pain accelerates transformation, right? It accelerates, it gets the ball rolling. But if you don't have a vision, or you don't have a goal, or you don't have a big giant why that pulls you towards your ideal situation, most likely, if you're working with society's paradigm, you will fall flat, right? Or in your words, die eventually. So yeah, those are probably the two best things, two best ways to find me.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Well, you are a gift, my friend, a
Thank you,
gift
sir.
and a scholar and a beautiful example of a modern man who is really striving to thrive in all aspects. So it's inspirational.
Thank you, fine sir. It was a pleasure talking with you, and I look forward to seeing you in the flesh next time.
Me too.
Cool, man. Peace out.